Goliath is the famous giant warrior mentioned in the book of Samuel in the Old Testament. In the Bible, Goliath is depicted as a Philistine giant who lived in the coastal region of southern Canaan near the Mediterranean Sea. He stood about 2.9 meters tall, wore armor weighing around 57 kilograms, and his strength and physique truly earned him the title of a giant warrior. Yet, despite appearing enormous to humans when compared to other giants in world mythology, Goliath could still be considered small. Goliath lived during the reign of King Saul, the first king of Israel, and he served as a key weapon for the Philistines in their war against Israel. According to the book of Samuel, the Philistines camped at Ephes Demim, while the Israelites stationed themselves in the valley of Elah, southwest of Jerusalem. When the two sides confronted each other, Goliath stepped forward with a challenge: "Send out a warrior to fight me. The loser shall become the servant of the victor." This duel would determine the fate of both nations. However, no one dared accept the challenge, for the opponent was too formidable, and the price of failure far too great. For 40 days, Goliath appeared twice daily, mocking and humiliating the army of Israel. At that time, a young shepherd named David, who would later become king of Israel, arrived at the camp to deliver provisions. He volunteered to face Goliath. King Saul hesitated at first but eventually agreed. David refused armor and sword as he was unaccustomed to them. Instead, he carried only a staff, a sling, and a pouch of stones taken from a stream. When the battle began, Goliath scoffed and roared, "I will kill you and feed your flesh to the beasts of the field and the birds of the air." But David replied, "You come against me with sword and spear, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God you have defied." This is not a battle of strength, but of faith. David placed a stone in his sling, launched it, and struck Goliath squarely on the forehead. The giant collapsed. David then seized Goliath's own sword and decapitated him, securing a decisive victory. Terrified, the Philistine army fled, while the Israelites pursued and triumphed. Through this victory, David rose to prominence and became a close servant of King Saul. Michelangelo's famous statue of David immortalizes this moment, depicting the youth with a sling draped across his shoulder, the weapon that felled the giant. Beyond Goliath, the book of Samuel also mentions 3 other giants: Ishbi-Benob, Saph, and a warrior from Gath. Yet, Goliath stands out the most, serving as the opponent against whom David's courage, intelligence, and faith could shine, making him a lasting symbol of triumph through divine trust. The Nephilim are giants introduced in Genesis chapter 6, within the story of Noah's Ark. The Bible records, "The sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose." Genesis 6, verse 2. The offspring of these unions were the Nephilim, described as mighty heroes, renowned men of old, towering and powerful. Here, the sons of God are not Christ but angels. The name Nephilim means those who fell from the heavens, evoking images of extraordinary, otherworldly beings. The Book of Enoch provides even greater detail. It tells of 200 angels called the Egregori, or Watchers, who descended to earth. Initially tasked with watching over humanity, they instead rebelled, taking human women as wives. Their offspring, the Nephilim, were monstrously gigantic and cruel, said to reach heights of 3,000 cubits, about 1,350 meters. Empowered by the forbidden knowledge their fallen angel fathers shared, the Nephilim became a devastating threat. They devoured all human food supplies, hunted animals, and eventually turned to consuming humans themselves. Worse still, they began eating one another, creating scenes more terrifying than any monster film. Witnessing this chaos, God commanded the archangels Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel to imprison the fallen angels. The Nephilim, in turn, were wiped out during the Great Flood, serving as a divine reset of the world. Ymir is the primordial giant in Norse mythology, born out of the chaos of the cosmos and serving as the foundation from which the heavens and earth were created. Many people may have first encountered Ymir through the manga Attack on Titan, yet his true origins lie in ancient myth. The name Ymir itself carries the meaning of twin or double, reflecting the idea of life forms emerging from his body. In the myths, the world began as a void between the icy realm of Niflheim in the north and the fiery land of Muspelheim in the south, with the yawning gap of Ginnungagap in between. When the heat met the frost, ice and rime melted, giving rise to Ymir, the first giant, and a cosmic cow named Odhumla. This motif, where life emerges from primordial chaos, is echoed in many cultures. Ymir was nourished by the milk of Odhumla. From the sweat beneath his arms sprang male and female giants, and from his legs a 6-headed monster was born. Meanwhile, Odhumla licked the salty ice for sustenance, and in doing so revealed Buri, also called Brimir, a primeval god. Buri fathered Bor, who who wed Bestla, daughter of the giant Bolthorn. Their union produced 3 sons, Odin, Vili, and Ve, the most renowned gods of Norse mythology. Despite this extended family, the relationship between gods and giants was fraught with conflict. The 3 brothers, Odin, Vili, and Ve, eventually killed Ymir, marking the first death in Norse myth. Ymir's blood poured forth, flooding the world in a deluge that annihilated nearly all giants, sparing only Bergelmir and his wife. Their descendants gave rise to the 4 great clans of giants in later legends. Giants often stood in opposition to the gods, such as Thrym, who once stole Thor's hammer, or Geirröðr, who challenged both Thor and Loki. Yet some giants allied with the gods. Mimir, the wise giant, granted Odin his knowledge, while giantesses like Skadi and Geirröðr became wives of the gods. After Ymir's death, Odin and his brothers shaped the cosmos from his corpse. Flesh became the earth, bones the mountains, teeth and smaller bones the rocks, blood the seas, brain the clouds, and skull the sky. 4 beings were set to hold the heavens: Austri, east; Vestri, west; Northri, north; and Suthri, south. Fire from Muspelheim was brought forth to form the sun, moon, and stars. Ymir's body also gave rise to other beings, and from trees the brothers created the first humans, Ask and Embla. Thus, from Ymir, the central land became the world of men, while the east became Jotunheim, the realm of the giants. Ymir's story is not only a Norse creation myth, but also part of a recurring motif across cultures: life born from chaos, with gods and giants bound to the very origins of the universe. Surtr, or Surtr, is the infamous fire giant of Norse mythology, often called the giant who brings the world's end. He plays a pivotal role in Ragnarok, the prophesied end-times battle where gods face their enemies and many fall, driving the story to its climactic conclusion. Surtr guards the fiery realm of Muspelheim in the south and leads the race of fire giants, the Muspeli. In Ragnarok, Surtr wields a blazing sword, sometimes described as the branch of destruction, or a blade shining as bright as the sun. He clashes with the god Freyr, who once possessed a magical sword capable of fighting on its own and always bringing victory. However, having given the weapon away earlier, Freyr is left to face Surtr with only a stag's horn. The duel ends with Freyr's death, while Surtr survives until the final moment, when he unleashes fire that engulfs and destroys the world. Through Surtr's flames, the old world is completely consumed. Yet, out of this destruction, surviving gods revive and rebuild a new world. Surtr himself does not appear in the reborn cosmos, for his sole purpose is annihilation. He embodies absolute destructive force, the mightiest of giants and the harbinger of total ruin. Kumbhakarna is the infamous Rakshasa giant of Indian mythology, a being who devoured everything in sight to the astonishment of gods and mortals alike. He was the younger brother of the demon king Ravana, born into a powerful lineage on the island of Lanka, modern-day Sri Lanka, with a colossal body and an insatiable appetite. From the moment of his birth, Kumbhakarna breathed fire when angered and roared like 100 thunderstorms, so fearsome that even Indra, the supreme god of war, regarded him with caution. Kumbhakarna's immense strength made him nearly impossible for Indra to subdue. Even with the aid of his divine elephant Airavata and the mighty weapon Vajra, Indra was struck back by the giant's retaliation. At last, Indra sought help from Brahma, who placed a curse upon Kumbhakarna. He would sleep for 6 months at a time, waking for only a single day. This ingenious restriction curbed his otherwise unstoppable power. When war broke out between Rama and the Rakshasas, Kumbhakarna was seen as the ultimate weapon. Yet rousing him proved nearly impossible. The Rakshasas tried everything, beating him, pulling his ears, pouring water, even driving elephants and camels across his body, but Kumbhakarna slept on. Only after 10,000 elephants pressed down upon him did he finally awaken, ready to march into battle. His hunger was terrifying. On the battlefield, he swallowed enemies whole, slaughtered legions of Rama's monkey allies, and even overpowered Hanuman, the mightiest warrior of them all. He hurled the monkey king Sugriva down a mountain, leaving him unconscious and sowing chaos among the ranks. Yet Rama, clever and resolute, countered him with skill. He severed Kumbhakarna's lion-sized headpiece, shot the divine arrow of Indra straight into his mouth to suffocate him, and at last decapitated the giant. Though Kumbhakarna was the mightiest Rakshasa of all, Rama's strength prevailed, showcasing how Indian mythology weaves together ferocity, grandeur, and strategic brilliance in its epic battles. Balor is the legendary giant of Celtic mythology, famed for his cursed magical eye. Balor was the warlord of the Fomorians, a terrifying race of giants. Towering and fearsome, he wielded what was known as the Evil Eye, a weapon of sheer destruction that made him the deadliest being in Celtic legend. The accounts differ. Balor's evil eye could be 1, 2, or even 3, depending on the version of the myth. Whenever it opened, 4 attendants had to lift its heavy eyelid with iron hooks or keys. Though the process was cumbersome, the devastation it unleashed was absolute. Entire armies could be annihilated in an instant. According to legend, this sinister power was born from the poisonous fumes Balor inhaled as his father prepared druidic potions, corrupting his sight into a demonic weapon. Under Balor's rule, the Fomorians oppressed humankind and defeated the gods of the Tuatha De Danann. Heavy tributes and cruel punishments fell upon the people, with Balor himself overseeing the collections. Resistance seemed impossible until the rise of Lugh, Balor's own grandson through his daughter and the god Dian Shecht. Bearing both divine and Fomorian blood, Lugh was destined to change the tide of history. Lugh mastered magic, warcraft, healing, and countless skills, earning the title of the Many-Skilled Executioner. Chosen as commander of the liberation forces against the Fomorians, he led them into the legendary Second Battle of Mag Tuiriad. There, seizing his chance while Balor slept, Lugh used a slingstone to strike his grandfather's head, destroying the evil eye and ending his reign of terror. Though Balor was the supreme being of Celtic myth, he too fell swiftly before destiny, proving that even the greatest giants could not withstand the rise of new gods and heroes. Cyclopes were 3 giant brothers of thunder, renowned for their unmatched craftsmanship and ability to forge divine weapons. In Greek mythology, before Zeus and the Olympian gods ruled, the Titans held dominion over the world. Cronus, father of Zeus, was their king. However, under his leadership, the Titans fell in a great war against Zeus and the Olympians, and Zeus became the king of the gods. In this war, the 3 one-eyed Cyclopes aided Zeus. Prior to that, they had been imprisoned in Tartarus along with the Hecatoncheires, deemed hideous. Following Gaia's counsel, Zeus freed them and brought them to his side. The Cyclopes were Argus, Steropes, and Brontes, names tied to thunder, for they were spirits of the storm. With their extraordinary skill, they forged weapons and treasures for the gods. Zeus's thunderbolt Keravnos, Hades' helm of invisibility, and Poseidon's trident that could summon tsunamis. Thanks to these creations, the Olympians triumphed after a 10-year war. Afterward, the Cyclopes assisted Hephaestus in crafting and refining divine arms. Yet, according to another myth, the Cyclopes later fell into misfortune and were punished by Apollo. They also appear in Homer's Odyssey, though there they are depicted as savage man-eating monsters. A stark contrast to the masterful craftsmen who forged divine weapons. This duality reveals the Cyclopes in Greek mythology as both exceptional artisans who created weapons of the gods and terrifying beasts of folklore. Finally, there is Prometheus, the wise and courageous Titan, a steadfast friend of humankind. Prometheus sided with Zeus during the Titanomachy, and so he was spared punishment. His name means forethought, reflecting his intelligence and prophetic insight, a sharp contrast to his brother Epimetheus, meaning afterthought or foolish. The most famous tale of Prometheus is his gift to mankind. During the division of a sacrificial ox, he tricked the gods by giving humans the best meat and rich entrails, while leaving Zeus with only bones covered in fat. Enraged, Zeus punished humanity by taking away fire, leaving them vulnerable, frail, and fearful of the cold and nature itself. To save humanity, Prometheus devised a daring plan to steal fire from the gods. He went to Hephaestus' forge, lit a burning branch, and carried it down to earth, bestowing fire upon humankind. With fire, civilization advanced, and humanity began to master nature. But Zeus's fury grew at this defiance. Prometheus was condemned to a cruel fate. Bound to the Caucasus Mountains, his liver devoured daily by a giant eagle, only to regenerate each night, renewing the torment. This punishment lasted for 30,000 years until Heracles finally freed him. For standing with humanity, Prometheus endured endless suffering. His deeds, however, did not end there. When Zeus sought to annihilate mankind with a great flood, Prometheus warned his son Deucalion, guiding him to build an ark that saved the remnants of humanity. Because of Prometheus, mankind survived and repopulated the earth. From beginning to end, he stood as a guardian of humanity, defying the gods to protect mortals. Across the world, giants appear in many forms, embodying both benevolence and malice. They truly represent a race of beings with diverse roles and countless tales. The names we have shared are but the tip of the iceberg. In truth, across cultures and myths, giants continue to emerge in myriad ways, each with their own strength, nature, and influence. If given the chance, I would gladly compare and share more of their stories. Thank you for staying until the end of this video. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next exciting stories. See you in the next video.